First contact and defiance. The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, interrupting the routine hum of the Global Space Defense Command Center in Geneva. Director Elena Santos was reviewing satellite data when every screen in the facility suddenly displayed the same geometric pattern, a spiral of interconnected hexagons that pulsed with an otherworldly blue light. Source, Elena demanded, her decades of diplomatic training keeping her voice steady despite the adrenaline surge. Signals coming from beyond lunar orbit. Director, replied Dr. Raj Patel, their lead communications expert. His fingers flew across multiple holographic interfaces. It's structured like nothing we've ever seen. The pattern seems to be some kind of universal mathematical language. Within hours, the same signal appeared at every major observatory and communications facility on Earth. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization wasn't happening with ships or probes, but with mathematics, the universal language of the cosmos. It took the combined efforts of Earth's best mathematicians and linguists 3 days to decode the first real message. When they did, Elena wished they hadn't. "We are the collective of advanced species," the translation read. "Your civilization has been monitored since your first radio transmissions. You have reached a sufficient level of development to be evaluated for membership. Prepare for inspection." The inspection fleet arrived 5 days later. 7 crystalline ships that emerged from what their sensors could only describe as folded space. Each vessel was the size of a small city, their surfaces refracting sunlight in impossible ways. Elena stood in the United Earth Council chamber, facing representatives from every nation. The chamber's grand architecture, usually impressive, felt small in the face of what they now confronted. "They're not here for peaceful contact," she stated, her holographic presentation showing detailed scans of the alien vessels. "These ships are built for subjugation. The weapons systems we've detected could reduce our cities to ash. Then we should surrender," suggested Representative Chen from the Asian Alliance. "Better to survive as subjects than die in futile resistance." "Survive as slaves, you mean?" interrupted General Sarah O'Connor, her weathered face hard with determination. "These inspectors aren't here to welcome us as equals. They're here to assess how useful we'll be as servants." Elena nodded. "Our analysis of their message patterns suggests a hierarchical society. Species are ranked by technological advancement and purity of development. They believe civilizations that develop without their guidance are inherently inferior." The chamber erupted in heated debate. Some argued for immediate surrender, others for desperate resistance. But it was Dr. James Morrison, head of the Advanced Physics Division, who silenced the room with his next words. "They don't understand us," he said quietly, but with absolute conviction. "Their entire civilization is built on the assumption that technological progress follows a single, predictable path. But humanity, we've never done anything the expected way." He brought up his own presentation, showing Earth's technological development. "Look at our history. We went from first flight to landing on the moon in 66 years. We developed nuclear power before we fully understood subatomic particles. We created artificial intelligence through methods they would consider impossibly crude." "What are you suggesting?" Elena asked, though she was beginning to smile. "I'm suggesting we show them why assuming humanity will follow their rules is a dangerous mistake. We have technologies they've never considered because they never needed them. Our AI systems evolved differently. Our weapons developed along paths their defenses never anticipated." General O'Connor leaned forward. "You're saying we might have a chance." "I'm saying we have something better than a chance," Morrison replied. "We have human ingenuity, and we have nothing to lose." The next day, Elena stood before the alien delegation in the specially constructed meeting facility outside Geneva. The 3 beings before her were tall, their bodies seeming to shift between solid and crystalline states. Their voices came through the universal translator with mechanical precision. "Your species shows promise," the lead inspector stated, "but you require guidance. Accept your place in the collective, and we will elevate you properly." Elena smiled diplomatically. We appreciate your offer, but humanity must decline. We choose to find our own path among the stars." The crystalline beings shifted, their forms expressing what might have been surprise or amusement. "You misunderstand. This is not an offer. It is an inevitability. Resistance would be unfortunate." "No," Elena replied, her smile unchanged but her eyes hard. "You misunderstand. Humanity doesn't accept inevitabilities. We change them." The meeting ended shortly after, and Elena returned to the command center where Morrison and O'Connor waited with their teams. "How long?" she asked. "They'll start with a show of force," O'Connor predicted. "Probably within 24 hours, trying to scare us into submission." Morrison nodded. "The defensive systems are ready. They'll expect standard energy shields. They won't be looking for our quantum field dispersal system. And the AI's Aurora network is fully online," Morrison replied. "They think our computer systems are primitive. They won't expect an AI that evolved through quantum uncertainty rather than deterministic programming." Elena looked at the tactical display showing Earth's hidden defenses. Conventional wisdom said they couldn't win, but conventional wisdom had never accounted for human determination. "Send word to all commands," she ordered. "Operation Prometheus is now active. Let's show the collective why humanity never follows the expected path." As if on cue, alarms began blaring. The alien ships were moving into attack position, their weapons charging. But in facilities around the world, humans smiled grimly and prepared to demonstrate why assuming humanity would submit was the collective's first and greatest mistake. The war for Earth's independence was about to begin, and humanity was about to prove that sometimes the most dangerous species are the ones you underestimate. The art of asymmetric warfare. The collective's first attack came at dawn. Their crystalline ships descended through Earth's atmosphere with devastating intent, energy weapons primed to destroy key military installations. They expected panic. They expected primitive defenses. They expected submission. They got none of these things. As the alien vessels entered the upper atmosphere, Earth's quantum field dispersal system activated. The seemingly empty sky suddenly rippled with invisible force, scattering the collective's energy beams in thousands of random directions. In the Geneva Command Center, Dr. Morrison watched the data streams with intense focus. "The QFD system is holding," he reported. "Their weapons are operating at 30% efficiency at best. They can't maintain a coherent beam through the field." Elena Santos nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical displays. "General O'Connor, you have a go for Operation Slingshot." Around the world, what the collective had dismissed as primitive chemical rockets began launching. But these weren't standard missiles. Each rocket carried a specially designed payload, quantum entangled particles that had been synchronized with Earth's defense grid. "They're not even trying to dodge," General O'Connor observed with grim satisfaction. "They think their shields can handle chemical explosives." The rockets detonated before hitting the alien shields, releasing clouds of the entangled particles. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the quantum field dispersal system pulsed, and the laws of physics took an unexpected turn. The particles, synchronized with Earth's defensive grid, created localized areas where quantum probability collapsed in precise, calculated ways. Sections of the collective's supposedly impenetrable shield simply ceased to exist, probability waves canceling out their energy matrices. "Multiple shield failures detected," reported Captain Maya Chen from her station. "They're trying to adapt, but Aurora is predicting their shield modulations faster than they can implement them." The Aurora network, Earth's quantum AI system, had evolved through controlled chaos rather than rigid programming. It thought in ways the collective's deterministic systems couldn't predict or counter. Now it was proving its worth, anticipating and countering alien defensive measures before they could take effect. But the collective ships weren't defenseless. Energy beams lanced down through gaps in the quantum field, vaporizing several defense installations. Their weapons might have been operating at reduced efficiency, but they were still devastatingly powerful. Secondary defense grid engaging, Morrison announced. The ground around the destroyed installations suddenly shimmered, revealing that the buildings had been holograms. The real facilities were hidden underground, protected by layers of advanced metamaterials that absorbed and redirected energy. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Launched the drones. Thousands of small, autonomous craft rose from hidden bases across the planet. Unlike traditional military drones, these had been designed by Aurora specifically to exploit weaknesses in crystalline technology. They moved in seemingly random patterns that somehow formed perfect attack formations, their trajectories impossible to predict because they operated on quantum uncertainty principles. The collective ships tried to target them, but their targeting systems relied on predictive algorithms that couldn't handle true randomness. The drones slipped through their defenses, attaching themselves to the crystalline hulls. Once attached, they began their real work. Sonic resonance weapons activated, O'Connor reported. The drones emitted precisely calculated sound frequencies that exploited the crystalline nature of the alien ships. What would have been harmless vibrations to traditional materials sent devastating cracks through the collective's living crystal technology. In space, the larger collective vessels were facing their own surprises. Earth's orbital defense platforms, which had appeared primitive to alien scans, suddenly revealed their true nature. What had seemed like simple satellite arrays transformed into quantum-linked weapon systems that could concentrate their fire through synchronized probability paths. Admiral Kazuo reports the orbital defense grid is fully engaged, Maya announced. The collective's reinforcement ships can't break through the probability maze. But the aliens were learning, adapting their tactics. Several ships managed to reconfigure their shields, using complex harmonics to disrupt the quantum field effects. They began a new attack run on major population centers. They're trying to force our surrender by threatening civilians, Alina observed. Activate the city defense systems. Around every major city, hidden metamaterial arrays powered up. As the alien weapons fired, the arrays bent light and energy around the urban centers, making them seem to vanish from their targeted locations. The beams struck empty ground while the real cities remained safely cloaked. Aurora is analyzing their adaptation patterns, Morrison reported, projecting new attack vectors. Now, the quantum eye had identified patterns in the collective's tactical responses, not in their technology, but in their thinking. Their strategic algorithms were advanced but fundamentally linear, unable to cope with human unpredictability combined with quantum uncertainty. All units, execute attack pattern Delta, O'Connor ordered. The drones regrouped, forming new configurations based on Aurora's calculations. They struck at seemingly random points on the alien ships, but each hit triggered cascading resonance effects that amplified the damage exponentially. Two of the collective ships, their crystalline structures compromised by compounding sonic damage, were forced to retreat to higher orbit. The others began pulling back, regrouping for what would surely be a stronger second attack. They'll be back, Alina stated, watching the alien ships withdraw. And they'll be better prepared for our current tactics. Morrison nodded. That's why we're already working on new ones. Aurora has generated 17 possible attack strategies they won't expect, based on their observed behavioral patterns. And the metamaterial production facilities. Running at full capacity, O'Connor confirmed. We'll have enough to shield every major population center within 72 hours. The distributed manufacturing networks are already adapting the designs based on what we've learned about their weapons. Elena studied the tactical displays, watching the probability fields shimmer around Earth's defenses. They had survived the first major attack, proving that humanity's unconventional approaches could effectively counter the collective's technological superiority. But this was just the beginning. Start implementing Aurora's new defensive configurations, she ordered. And get me a direct line to the quantum engineering teams. If the collective thinks this was our best effort, they're in for more surprises. As the command center staff rushed to execute her orders, Elena reflected on how the collective's greatest weakness was their inability to understand humanity's greatest strength. They saw technology as a linear progression, a clear path from primitive to advanced. They couldn't grasp how humans could take theoretical concepts their civilization had never even considered and turn them into practical weapons in a matter of months. The next attack would be harder to repel. The collective would analyze their failures and adapt their strategies, but humanity would keep innovating, keep finding new ways to fight back. Because that's what humans did best. They changed the rules of the game until they found a way to win. "Dr. Morrison," Elena called. "How's Project Prometheus coming along?" Morrison's eyes lit up with that particular gleam that meant he was about to change the laws of physics again. "We're ready to begin the first test. If it works, well, the collective thinks they've seen human ingenuity. They haven't seen anything yet. The turning point." Dr. Samira Khan stared at her quantum probability displays with growing excitement. After weeks of analyzing data from the battles with the collective, she had found something impossible to overlook, a pattern in what should have been random. "Director Santos," she called, her voice tense with discovery. "I need you to see this immediately." Elena arrived at the quantum physics lab within minutes, followed by Morrison and O'Connor. The holographic display showed complex wave patterns from the collective ships. Their entire technological base, Samira explained, highlighting specific resonance patterns. It's not just crystalline in structure. It's quantum-locked to a specific probability state. They've literally built their civilization on forcing quantum mechanics to behave predictably. Morrison's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. That's why our quantum uncertainty weapons were so effective. We weren't just damaging their ships. We were threatening their entire technological paradigm. Samira finished. Every piece of their technology depends on quantum stability. They're not just advanced. They're completely dependent on their understanding of physics being the only correct one. Elena leaned forward, studying the patterns. "Can we exploit this?" "Better," Samira replied, pulling up a new simulation. "We can use it to shut them down completely. Project Prometheus isn't just a weapon. It could be a kill switch for their entire technology base." The implications were staggering. The collective's supposed superiority was actually their greatest vulnerability. They had built everything on a foundation that humanity was about to shake to its core. But first, they needed to test the theory. Elena authorized a high-risk mission that would either turn the tide of war or expose Earth to devastating retaliation. Commander Aisha Patel stood in the briefing room of the stealth ship Quantum Shadow, facing her hand-picked crew. Each member had been chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to think creatively under pressure. "This is a single-shot mission," she explained, the holographic display showing their target, a supposedly crippled collective vessel lingering at the edge of the solar system. "We get one chance to test Dr. Khan's theory. If it works, we change everything. If it fails, we don't fail." Lieutenant Marcus Chen interrupted, his confident grin spreading to the rest of the crew. "That's why you picked us, Commander." The Quantum Shadow lived up to its name, using metamaterial cloaking and quantum field manipulation to approach the damaged collective ship undetected. The alien vessel's crystalline structure showed signs of previous battle damage. The perfect target for their test. "Quantum resonance generator at full charge," reported Dr. Sarah O'Neill, their onboard physicist. "Ready to initiate the probability cascade on your mark." Aisha took a deep breath. "All stations, prepare for possible immediate retreat. Initiating Project Prometheus in 3, 2, 1. The resonance generator activated, sending carefully calculated quantum waves toward the collective vessel. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the impossible became reality. The crystalline ship's structure began to shift, its perfectly ordered atomic lattice suddenly experiencing multiple quantum states simultaneously. The effect spread like a wave through the vessel's systems. "It's working," Sarah exclaimed, watching her readings. Their quantum-locked systems are destabilizing. They can't maintain technological coherence. The collective ship's lights flickered and died, its weapons and shields failing as its fundamental technology experienced what should have been impossible: true quantum uncertainty. But they weren't done yet. Phase 2 of the mission was even riskier. "Boarding team, you have a go," Aisha ordered. "Remember, we need their command core intact." Marcus led the boarding team, their suits equipped with quantum stabilizers that protected them from the cascading effect. They entered the disabled ship through hull breaches created by the probability fluctuations. The interior was chaos. The crystalline corridors, usually flowing with precise energy patterns, now shifted unpredictably. The few collective crew members they encountered were incapacitated, their crystalline technology-enhanced bodies unable to function in a state of quantum uncertainty. "Command core located," Marcus reported. "Beginning extraction." The team worked quickly, using specialized equipment to isolate and remove the ship's central processing unit, the heart of its quantum-locked technology. With this, Earth's scientists could perfect their probability cascade weapon. But the collective wasn't finished. As the boarding team reached the extraction point, emergency systems activated. The alien ship began generating a quantum stabilization field, fighting to restore its technological coherence. "All teams, immediate evacuation," Aisha ordered. "They're adapting faster than predicted." The boarding team barely made it back to the quantum shadow before the collective ship systems came back online. But they had what they came for. And more importantly, proof that Dr. Khan's theory worked. Back on Earth, Alina received the mission report with calculated optimism. "How long until we can replicate this on a larger scale?" "A week, maybe less," Samira replied. "Now that we have their command core to study, we can perfect the resonance frequencies. We can create a cascade effect that their adaptation protocols can't counter." But victory wouldn't be that simple. Within hours, the collective launched a massive counterattack. They had realized the true threat humanity posed, not just to their invasion, but to their entire civilization. "They're desperate now," Morrison observed, watching the tactical displays as Earth's defenses engaged the new attack. "They know we found their weakness." Elena nodded grimly. "And a desperate enemy is the most dangerous kind. Get me Admiral Joe. We need to accelerate the defense grid upgrades and contact Commander Patel. I want the quantum shadow ready for another mission. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting to prove that their way isn't the only way to advance." As Earth's forces engaged the collective's desperate assault, humanity's greatest advantage became clear. Where the collective had built their civilization on controlling and stabilizing the universe, humans had embraced chaos and uncertainty. They had turned their supposed primitive status into an asset, developing technologies that worked with quantum uncertainty rather than against it. The next phase of the war would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of technological development throughout the galaxy. And humanity was ready to prove that sometimes the most advanced civilization isn't the one that controls chaos, but the one that learns to dance with it. "Prepare Project Prometheus for full deployment," Elena ordered. "It's time to show the collective that the universe is bigger than their understanding of it." The turning point had arrived. The only question was whether humanity could survive the collective's desperation to maintain their version of reality. Alliance of the Underdogs. The message came through channels the collective couldn't monitor, quantum-entangled particles operating in ways their rigid systems couldn't detect. At first, Elena thought it was a malfunction in the communications array. "Director, you need to see this," Lieutenant Maya Chen called out, her fingers flying over the holographic controls. "The signal. It's not human in origin, but it's using protocols we developed during the war." The message decoded into a simple phrase: "Others watch. Others resist. Others would join." Within hours, a small ship appeared at the edge of the solar system, its design unlike anything they'd seen before. Unlike the collective's crystalline vessels, this ship seemed to be grown rather than built, its organic hull pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. They're requesting direct communication, Maya reported. And Director, they're specifically asking for you by name. The alien that appeared on the main screen was nothing like the collective's crystalline beings. It appeared almost fluid, its form shifting constantly like living mercury. I am Nexus born of thought. It said through the translator. My people are the Meridians. Like you, we refuse to submit to the collective's uniformity. Elena studied the being carefully. How did you find us? We have watched since your first battle. The way you fight, it is like our ancestors, unpredictable, adaptive. The alien's form rippled with what might have been amusement. The collective calls such methods primitive. We call them effective. More messages arrived in the following days. The Asteri, insectoid beings who had developed biological technology that the collective couldn't comprehend. The Voidborn, energy beings who existed in quantum states that defied the collective's rigid understanding of physics. Each species had refused to abandon their unique path of development. Dr. Morrison could barely contain his excitement as he studied the technical data their new allies shared. It's brilliant, he exclaimed during an emergency council meeting. Each species developed along completely different technological paths. The Meridians use programmable matter. The Asteri have living technology. And the Voidborn, their entire existence proves the collective's understanding of physics is too limited. Can we integrate their technologies with ours? General O'Connor asked, already thinking of tactical applications. Better, Morrison replied. We can combine them in ways the collective would never expect. Their rigid thinking makes them vulnerable to approaches they consider impossible. The alliance formed quickly, necessity overcoming the vast differences between species. Each brought unique capabilities to the fight. The Meridians shared their mastery of programmable matter, allowing Earth's weapons to adapt mid-battle. The Asteri's living ships could heal and evolve during combat, learning from each encounter. The Voidborn taught them how to exist partially out of phase with normal spacetime, making their ships virtually impossible to target. But it was humanity's quantum uncertainty weapons, combined with these new technologies, that proved most devastating. The collective's forces found themselves facing attacks that shouldn't have been possible by their understanding of physics. They're retreating from the Orient sector, Maya reported, updating the tactical display. A Meridian ship, its liquid metal hull flowing into new configurations, had just driven off 3 collective cruisers without firing a shot. The mere threat of quantum destabilization was sometimes enough. Elena watched the battle data with growing optimism. How many systems have broken away from collective control? 17 in the past week alone, Admiral Joe replied. Once word spread that their control could be broken, many of their subject species began to resist. The collective's trying to maintain order, but they're spreading themselves thin. But victory wouldn't come easily. The collective, facing the first real threat to their dominion in millennia, launched a massive counteroffensive. Thousands of ships appeared in nearby systems, their crystalline forms darkened with new armor designed to resist quantum disruption. They've adapted their shields, Morrison observed during a joint briefing with their allies. The probability cascade isn't as effective anymore. The Meridian representative, its mercury-like form rippling with tactical patterns, offered a solution. Then we changed the rules again. Your quantum weapons, combined with our programmable matter and Asteri living metal, we could create something new, something they cannot predict because it has never existed before. The resulting creation was designated Project Chimera, weapons that combine multiple technological paradigms in ways that even their creators couldn't fully predict. Humanity's quantum uncertainty drives merged with Meridian programmable matter and Asteri biological components, all existing partially in the Voidborn's phase space. The first test came during the Battle of Alpha Centauri. A collective battle group, confident in their new defenses, encountered what appeared to be a small fleet of human ships. Chimera weapons hot. Commander Aisha Patel reported from the bridge of the upgraded Quantum Shadow. All allies synchronized and ready. The collective ships opened fire, their enhanced weapons designed to cut through quantum disruption fields. But the Allied ships simply shifted, their forms flowing like liquid one moment, becoming organic the next, partially phasing out of normal space-time, while somehow maintaining quantum uncertainty states that should have been impossible. "They can't lock onto us," Marcus reported with satisfaction. "Their targeting systems are trying to compensate for one type of movement, but we're using all of them simultaneously." The Chimera weapons struck back. Beams of quantum destabilized energy, carried by streams of programmable matter, phased partially out of normal space before impact. The collective's new defenses, designed to handle each type of attack separately, couldn't cope with the combined assault. "Multiple direct hits," Sarah called out. "Their adaptive algorithms are failing. They can't predict what we'll do because we're not following any single set of physical laws." The battle ended in minutes. The collective ships, unable to comprehend or counter attacks that violated their fundamental understanding of how technology should work, were forced to retreat. Elena received the battle reports with cautious optimism. The Alliance's combined technologies were proving devastatingly effective, but she knew the collective wouldn't give up easily. "They'll adapt again," she warned during the post-battle briefing. "Their entire civilization is based on controlling and predicting the universe. They can't accept that there might be other valid paths of development." The Meridian representative shifted its form in agreement. "Then we will continue to show them new paths. Each defeat teaches them that their way is not the only way." As the Alliance prepared for the collective's inevitable response, Elena reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had not only survived first contact with a superior force, but had shown the galaxy that being primitive by collective standards wasn't a weakness. It was an opportunity to think differently. "Prepare the next phase of Project Chimera," she ordered, "and get me a secure channel to all Allied forces. It's time to take this fight to their core systems. Let's show them what primitive species can really do." The war was far from over, but the balance had shifted. The collective's greatest strength, their absolute certainty in their technological superiority, had become their greatest weakness. Against an alliance of species that embraced chaos, uncertainty, and multiple paths of development, their rigid perfection was crumbling. Victory of the improbable. The collective's capital system was a monument to imposed order. Perfectly arranged crystalline structures orbited their sun in mathematically precise patterns. Every planet, every station, every ship moved in careful harmony, a physical representation of their belief in technological perfection. The Alliance fleet waited at the system's edge, hidden in overlapping fields of quantum uncertainty and void-borne phase space. Elena stood on the bridge of the flagship Prometheus, now enhanced with technology from all their allied species. The vessel represented everything the collective feared, multiple technological paradigms working together in ways they deemed impossible. "Final status check," she ordered. Around her, humans worked alongside their alien allies. A Meridian weapons officer flowed between control stations, its liquid metal form interfacing directly with the ship's systems. Asteri engineers monitored the living components of their hybrid technology, while void-borne energy beings maintained their phase space shields. "All ships report ready," Admiral Joe confirmed. "The collective's home fleet is exactly where we predicted. They're still following the same tactical protocols they've used for millennia." Dr. Morrison's voice came through the command channel. "Project Chimera is at full power. Once we initiate the cascade, their entire system-wide quantum lock will begin to destabilize. But, Director," he paused, "we still don't know exactly what will happen when we disrupt quantum stability on this scale." "The unknown is our ally," Elena replied, quoting a Meridian saying. "Uncertainty is our strength." The battle began with impossible silence. The Alliance fleet shifted into normal space, their ships appearing to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Collective sensors, designed to track definitive positions and velocities, couldn't establish target locks on vessels that deliberately violated their understanding of physics. They're responding exactly as predicted, Zhao reported. Primary defense fleet is moving to engage. The collective ships were beautiful in their crystalline perfection, their formations mathematically precise. But that precision was their weakness. Their responses were predictable because they couldn't conceive of acting otherwise. All ships, execute attack pattern chaos, Alina commanded. The Alliance fleet broke formation, each ship moving according to its own tactical algorithms. Human quantum drives created uncertainty fields while Meridian ships flowed into new configurations. Asteri vessels evolved mid-battle, their living hulls adapting to enemy fire. Voidborne ships phased in and out of normal space. The collective's first volley missed entirely. Their targeting computers, trying to establish firing solutions, encountered vessels that existed in probability clouds rather than defined positions. The few hits they managed were absorbed by hybrid shields that operated on multiple technological principles simultaneously. Chimera weapons, full spread, Alina ordered. Target their primary quantum synchronization nodes. The combined weapons of the Alliance struck like lightning through crystal. Beams of quantum destabilized energy, carried by streams of programmable matter, phased partially out of normal space before impact. Each hit cascaded through the collective's perfectly ordered systems, introducing chaos into their quantum lock technology. Multiple direct hits, reported the Meridian weapons officer, its form pulsing with battle data. Their defensive grid is destabilizing. Wait. The alien's form rippled with concern. They're activating something at the system's core. A massive structure at the heart of the collective's capital system began to pulse with energy. The quantum readings were off the scale. They're trying to force quantum stability across the entire system. Morrison's voice was tense. They're willing to risk a system-wide quantum collapse to maintain their technological paradigm. Alina had expected this. The collective couldn't accept a reality where their understanding of physics wasn't absolute. They would rather risk destruction than admit their way wasn't the only path to advancement. Deploy the final phase of Project Chimera, she ordered. All ships, fall back to safe distance. From the Prometheus's launch bays emerged swarms of tiny devices. Quantum uncertainty generators merged with Meridian programmable matter, Asteri living circuits, and Voidborne phase technology. They spread through space like a glittering cloud, each one designed not to destroy the collective's technology, but to prove their fundamental assumptions wrong. The devices activated simultaneously, creating overlapping fields of quantum uncertainty. But instead of trying to destabilize the collective's quantum lock, they did something far more devastating. They showed alternative paths of stability. It's working, Morrison reported excitedly. The quantum fields aren't just disrupting their technology, they're showing them other ways it could work. Their systems are being forced to acknowledge multiple valid states of operation. The effect spread through the collective's capital system like cracks through perfect crystal. Their technology didn't fail catastrophically. Instead, it began to operate in ways they had always considered impossible. Ships maintained coherence while existing in quantum uncertainty. Stations continued functioning despite experiencing multiple probable states. They're standing down, Zhao announced. Multiple ships are powering down weapons. They're requesting communication. The being that appeared on the main screen was different from any collective representative they'd seen before. Its crystalline form showed hints of uncertainty, edges that weren't quite fixed in space-time. "You have proven something we thought impossible," it said, its voice carrying harmonics of confusion and wonder. "Our certainty was our limitation. Our perfection was our weakness." Alina stood straighter. The universe is larger than any single understanding of it. There are many paths to advancement, many ways to exist. "We see that now," the collective leader replied. "Our civilization has maintained quantum stability for so long, we forgot why we sought it in the first place. We forgot that growth comes from accepting new possibilities. The war ended not with the destruction of the collective, but with the shattering of their certainty. Their technology didn't fail, it evolved, accepting quantum uncertainty as a source of strength rather than weakness. Their civilization didn't collapse. It transformed, learning to coexist with species that followed different paths of development. In the years that followed, the alliance expanded. More species emerged from hiding, sharing their unique approaches to technology and existence. The galaxy entered an unprecedented age of diversity and innovation, where multiple technological paradigms worked together in ways that would have once been considered impossible. Elena stood at her old window in the Geneva Command Center, watching Earth's sunset. The sky was filled with ships now. Human vessels wielding quantum uncertainty, meridian ships of flowing metal, Asteri living crafts, and void-borne phase ships. Each represented a different path of development, a different way of understanding and manipulating the universe. Beautiful, isn't it? Morrison asked, joining her at the window. Every ship up there proves that being primitive just means having room to grow in unexpected ways. Elena smiled. The collective thought advancement only had one path. We showed them that progress is about embracing possibilities, not enforcing certainties. Above them, the hybrid technologies of multiple species work together in harmony, a testament to humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy. The proof that there is strength in diversity, power in uncertainty, and victory in accepting that there is always more than one way forward. The improbable had become reality, and the galaxy was better for it.